Welcome back to the Deep Dive. I want to start today with a scenario that I think is going to feel uncomfortably familiar to a lot of you.
Okay.
Picture this. It's, say, 11 p.m. You're exhausted, but you're scrolling through social media or, staring at your bookshelf, and you just feel this wave of inadequacy.
Oh, yeah.
You see people learning new languages, starting businesses, training for marathons, and the overwhelming message you're getting is just add.
The culture of accumulation, it is everywhere.
Everywhere, right. It's this idea that you are a collection of empty slots. And to find yourself or be successful, you have to fill those slots.
Right.
You need to add a morning routine, add a side hustle, add a meditation practice. It's always more and more and more.
It's the missing piece fallacy. We operate under this assumption that we're incomplete puzzles.
Yeah.
We think if I just buy that planner or if I get that certification, then suddenly the picture will make sense. I'll know who I am.
But today's deep dive is going to challenge that instinct pretty aggressively, actually. We are unpacking a source text that deals with the book of your life.
Yeah.
And it proposes a philosophy that is honestly kind of destructive.
But in the best possible way.
In the best possible way, exactly. The core premise here is, what if finding yourself isn't about what you add to the pile? What if it's entirely about what you subtract?
It is a pivot to the philosophy of elimination. And it all hinges on a line from the source material that I think really frames our entire conversation today.
What's that?
Where we are not is as important as where we are.
Where we are not is as important as where we are. That sounds a bit like a Zen riddle you'd hear on a mountaintop.
It does.
But as we went through this material, I realized it's actually incredibly practical. It's gritty. So our mission today is to explore this philosophy of identity via elimination. We're going to look at why you might be trapped, how to define success without losing your soul, and, well, how to actually edit your life.
And I think it's important to set the tone right out of the gate. This source material is not what I would call fluffy. It is not about manifesting your dreams by just, thinking positive thoughts.
No.
It is grounded in a very stark reality.
Yeah, let's talk about that reality.
Yeah.
Because the text opens with a statement that feels like a bucket of ice water to the face. If you're looking for a hug, this isn't it.
No, it certainly isn't. The source asserts, quite bluntly, life's not fair, never was, it isn't now, and it won't ever be.
And it won't ever be. That is the part that really lands. I feel like we all intellectually know life isn't fair.
Sure.
But we walk around with this subconscious expectation that it should be.
Yeah.
And when it's not, we feel like the universe made a mistake or something.
We treat unfairness as a glitch in the system rather than a feature of the system. And the text argues that this expectation, this waiting for things to balance out, is actually a trap.
The entitlement trap.
That's it.
Okay, let's unpack that, because I think this is where a lot of people get stuck without even realizing it. What's the mechanism? Why is it a trap?
It's a trap because it breeds paralysis. The entitlement trap is that gap between what is and what you think should be.
Right.
When you fall into it, you cast yourself as the victim. You didn't get the job. The system is rigged. Traffic is bad. The city planners are incompetent. You start waiting for an apology, a correction from the universe.
And while you're waiting for that apology,
Which is never coming.
which, spoiler, never comes, you're just standing still. You aren't moving forward.
Precisely. You outsource your agency to a concept fairness that doesn't exist in nature. You stagnate. And the source material is very, very direct about the solution.
Incredibly direct. It basically yells at you. It says, you are not a victim. Get over it and get on with it.
Which, hearing it out loud, it sounds harsh, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah.
It sounds like something a grumpy high school football coach would scream at you.
Totally. It sounds so dismissive, like, oh, you're suffering. Just get over it. But when you read it in context, it's not actually about suppressing your emotions, is it?
No, and that is such a crucial distinction. Get over it and get on with it. Isn't about emotional repression. It's about operational efficiency.
Operational
It's about clearing the deck. If you start spending your energy arguing with reality about how it ought to be, you free up a tremendous amount of bandwidth to deal with reality as it is.
It's an acceptance of the baseline.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, it's raining. I can stand here and scream at the clouds because I planned a picnic, or I can put up an umbrella and find a restaurant.
Right.
One of those makes me a victim. The other makes me an agent of my own life.
Exactly. It shifts you from a passive observer complaining about the weather to an active participant navigating the storm. It puts the pen back in your hand.
And that leads us directly to the next big phase of the text. Once you accept that no one is coming to save you and life isn't fair, you have to decide where you're actually going. And the text poses this massive question. What is success to you?
It is such a simple question, but I would argue that 90% of people never actually answer it for themselves. They answer it for their parents or for their Instagram followers or, for their bank account.
The keeping up of the Joneses metric. But I like that the source is actually pretty open-minded here. It lists a bunch of valid options. It says success can be money, it can be a happy marriage, it can be fame, spiritual health. It doesn't judge the goal itself.
I appreciate that explicitly. It says, I got nothing against money.
Right.
It validates ambition. It's not saying you have to live in a yurt to be enlightened.
Right.
But it emphasizes subjectivity. Success isn't a fixed target. It's whatever you decide it is. However, and here is where it gets really interesting, there is a major condition, a warning label.
The caveat.
Don't choose anything that will jeopardize your soul.
That is a heavy line. Jeopardize your soul. We need to unpack that because soul can mean a lot of things. In this context, what are we really talking about?
Well, I don't think it's necessarily religious in this context. It's more about psychological integrity. It's about character. The text warns against picking a version of success that antagonizes your character.
Antagonizes your character. That is such a vivid way to put it. It suggests an internal war.
It is a war.
Like, if your version of success requires you to be ruthless and cutthroat, but you're naturally a compassionate, community-driven person, you are going to be in conflict with yourself every single day.
Exactly. It creates cognitive dissonance. If the pursuit of the goal starts to rot you from the inside, if you dislike the person you see in the mirror while you're casing it, then it isn't success.
No.
It is just destruction dressed up as achievement.
So the instruction is, prioritize who you want to be over what you want to get.
Yes. And once you have that alignment where your goal matches your character, the text uses this great metaphor.
Which is?
Be brave, take the hill.
Take the hill.
Yeah.
It implies a battle. It implies that it's going to be hard work.
But the critical step is defining which hill is yours. That is where most people fail. They start running up the nearest hill because everyone else is running up it.
They see a crowd, they join the crowd.
Right. They hustle, they grind, they get to the top, only to realize the view does nothing for them. They're cold, they're miserable, and they're on the wrong mountain.
So let's assume we've done the hard work. We've accepted life isn't fair. We've identified our hill. Now we get to the core philosophy of this entire deep dive, the part that I think just flips the script on self-help.
The process of elimination.
This was the aha moment for me. The text says the first step to knowing who you are isn't figuring out who you are.
Right. It's saying, I know who I am not.
Why is the negative so much more powerful than the positive here? Why start with not?
Because who am I is an infinite question. It's abstract, it's paralyzing. You can be anything, so you don't know where to start. But who am I not is concrete. It's tangible.
I see.
It is much easier to identify the things that don't fit than to visualize the perfect fit from scratch.
It's the sculpting analogy, right? You don't build a statue by adding clay to a void. You find the statue by chipping away the stone that isn't the statue.
That is the perfect visual. The text calls this defining ourselves by what we are not. And what I love is that the source moves immediately from this high-level philosophy to very specific, almost uncomfortable examples.
Oh, these examples were painfully relatable. I think everyone listening is going to wince at least once here. Let's run through them. First up, the social circle.
The source talks about that specific group of friends, you know the ones. The text describes them as the people who gossip too much or kind of shady.
Or the ones who really aren't going to be there for you in a pinch. We all have those people in our orbit. They're fun on a Saturday night, maybe, but they drain you. They bring drama. You leave hanging out with them feeling less than.
And deep down, you know they don't align with that hill you defined earlier. They antagonize your character, but you keep them around out of habit or fear of missing out or just inertia.
And then there's the environment. The text mentions that bar we keep going to.
The one that always results in the worst hangover.
Why do we do that?
Yeah.
We know the result. It's 100% predictable. You go there, you stay too long, you feel terrible the next day, but we go anyway.
Because it's a default setting. It's the path of least resistance. And then there's technology. This one is increasingly relevant. That computer screen that keeps giving us excuses not to get out of the house.
That one hit me personally. The doom scrolling, the screen that stops you from getting real human interaction. And finally, health. The food that tastes amazing for 30 seconds, but makes us feel sluggish for 3 days.
Lethargy, weight gain, brain fog. The text is pointing out that we often engage in behaviors that directly contradict the success we claimed we wanted.
Right.
We say we want energy and clarity to take our hill, but we eat junk and scroll until 2 a.m.
So the instruction is deceptively simple. Stop. Just stop giving them your time. Put them down.
But here is the mechanism that I find most compelling. This isn't just about, asceticism or punishing yourself. The text explains that when you quit going to those places or quit seeing those people, you inadvertently find yourself in places that are healthier.
It says you do it accidentally and innocently.
Exactly. Think about the physics of it. Nature abhors a vacuum. If you remove the toxic friend group, you now have Friday nights free. You aren't necessarily trying to find better friends yet, but by virtue of not being with the bad ones, you are suddenly available.
You've removed the barrier to joy.
We've removed the barrier. It reminds me of that idea. You can't catch a new ball if your hands are full of junk. You have to drop the junk first.
That's it. And the source touches on the tyranny of choice here. It says, too many options will make a tyrant of us all. When we have infinite options, including the bad ones, we get decision fatigue. We get distracted.
And by decreasing your options, by simply removing the excess, you force focus. You clear the path.
I love the line, knowing who we are is hard. Give yourself a break. Eliminate who you are not first. It really takes the pressure off, You don't have to have the grand vision yet. You don't need a 5-year plan. Just stop doing the stuff that makes you feel gross.
And that seemingly negative action elimination creates a positive result. It puts you where you need to be.
Okay, so let's say we've done the demolition work, we cleared the weeds, we've stopped going to the bar, we've muted the shady friends. Now we have this open space. The source shifts gears here from destruction to creation. It says architecture is a verb.
We are the architects of our own lives. This is the transition to agency. We move from the demolition phase to the construction phase.
And the imagery changes to a garden. We have to attend to our garden.
Which implies constant maintenance. That's the key nuance. You don't just plant a garden and walk away. If you do, the weeds come back. The text mentions taking daily talent to keep things in shape.
Daily talent. That suggests it's a skill, right?
Yeah.
Living the life you want isn't just luck. It's a talent you practice. It's a muscle.
It's a craft. And what are we aiming for with this practice? The source gives us a new metric. We want to create outcomes that pay us back, fill us up, and keep your fire lit.
Turn you on for the most amount of time in your future.
Yeah.
That is such a great filter for decision making. Is this choice going to keep my fire lit 5 years from now?
Or is it just a spark that burns out and leaves ash?
Right.
To achieve that, the text advises us to study our habits, and not just the good ones. We need to dissect the routines that lead to our success, our joy, and this is interesting, our honest pain and earned tears.
Let's pause on that. Honest pain, earned tears. How is that different from the pain of the hangover we talked about earlier? Because pain is pain, right?
Not according to this philosophy. The hangover is stupid pain. It's suffering with no ROI. It's just payment for a mistake.
Okay.
Honest pain is the soreness after a workout. It's the stress of building a business. It's a grief of a necessary goodbye. It's the pain that comes from effort.
It's growing pains versus injury.
Yes, honest pain pays you back. It builds resilience. The text wants us to distinguish between suffering that damages us and suffering that develops us.
So we dissect these habits.
Yeah.
We look at what worked and what didn't. It's almost like a debriefing after a mission.
It creates a feedback loop. When we dissect our wins and our honest pain and we give thanks for them, we get better at them. And because we get better, we have more to dissect. It is an upward spiral of competence and character.
But we have to be realistic. We're human. We're going to mess up. We're going to have days where we skip the gym or we call that X or we eat the junk food. The source is very clear on this. It says we try our best. We don't always do our best.
Dealing with failure is a crucial part of this architecture. If you are going to take the hill, you are going to slip. You might even slide halfway down in the mud.
So what's the protocol? When we slip, do we beat ourselves up? Do we go back to the entitlement trap?
No. The text lays out a 3-step process for when we make mistakes. It is surprisingly simple, yet very difficult to execute. Step 1, own them.
Radical accountability. No excuses. No blaming the traffic or the weather. I did this.
Step 2, make amends. Fix what you broke. Apologize to who you hurt. Clean up the mess. Do the work to set it right.
And step 3,
Move on.
that's the hardest one for me. Moving on, I think a lot of us are prone to rumination. We replay the tape of our mistake over and over again at 3 a.m.
Oh, yeah. We punish ourselves long after the crime is over.
We do.
The source is adamant about this. It warns, guilt and regret kills many men before their time.
That's dark, but probably true. We hold on to things. We let the past cannibalize the present.
And that replay prevents you from being the architect. You are stuck in the past, not building the future. The text says, get off the ride. You cannot write the next chapter if you are obsessively rereading the last one.
Turn the page because, and this brings us to the title of the whole concept, you are the author of the book of your life.
That metaphor of authorship is so empowering, but it also implies responsibility. An author can write a tragic chapter, but they can also choose to end the chapter. They don't have to keep writing the same sentence forever.
I think that connects back to the very beginning. If you're the author, you get to decide what success is.
Exactly.
You get to decide who is in the story and who gets written out. Those shady friends, that bad environment,
Yeah.
you control the cast list.
Precisely. And you edit. That is what the process of elimination is. It is editing. You are taking a red pen to your own life and crossing out the lines that don't belong in your story so that the true narrative can emerge.
So let's bring this all together. We've covered a lot of ground today. We started with the hard truth. Life isn't fair. We have to avoid the entitlement trap and just get on with it.
We discussed defining success for yourself, finding your specific hill, and ensuring it doesn't cost you your soul.
We talked about the power of saying no, the process of elimination, finding out who you are by figuring out who you are not.
And eliminating the excess options that make tyrants of us all.
And finally, accepting that we are the architects. We build through our daily habits. We distinguish between stupid pain and honest pain. We own our mistakes, but we refuse to let guilt stop the writing process.
It's a lot to take in, but it feels actionable, doesn't it?
It does. It feels like I can actually do something with this today. It's not just think positive thoughts.
That is the goal. Knowledge is only potential power. It becomes actual power when applied. And look, knowing who you aren't is hard work. It requires honesty. As the source says, give yourself a break. You don't have to finish the book today,
Right.
But you have to start the process.
You really do. And I think that's why this book of your life concept resonates. It's not asking you to be perfect. It's asking you to be discerning.
To choose things because you want them. And to do them because you want to, not because society says so or because you were trying to fill a void with noise.
So here's the thought we want to leave you with today. We talked a lot about elimination, about cutting the dead weight.
If you really take this seriously, if you look at your life right now as an author holding a red pen, what is the one thing that needs to go?
If you started the process of elimination today, right now, what is the first thing that would get cut? Is it a habit? Is it a person? Is it a mindset?
Identify it,
Right.
and then be brave enough to turn the page.
That's it for this deep dive. Thanks for listening, and go write a good chapter.
Take the hill.